Hey, Deanna, this one's for you. This is my acorn squash. I just cut it in half. That's all I've done so far. And I cut it this way instead of that way, just because, I thought it was prettier, if you really want to be honest. So you want to scoop this stuff out. Scoop it out, get rid of it, so it looks like this. All right? That's step one. You can do this. Okay, you see that? That's not the time, Deanna. That is the temperature that I have preheated my oven to. All right? So that little thing on your stove, it's not just a clock, it's a timer too. Anyway, I cut out my squash. And they're all looking nice and carved out and so forth. And eventually I want to be able to stuff this. I don't know exactly just yet, but I have an idea. I think I'm going to stuff it with like a spinach, tomato, and shrimp arborio rice, just because I think it looks good. So I don't know how it's going to taste, because I actually want this to be kind of sweet, like a sweet potato. So I'm going to put some salt and pepper, a little bit of sugar, some cinnamon and nutmeg on there, and then I'm going to roast these until they get nice and tender. I'm thinking probably 45 minutes to an hour. Stay tuned. Oh, I'm also going to coat them just a little bit with a little bit of olive oil and a small drizzle of syrup, because, I want them sweet. I don't know if that's going to clash with the shrimp and the spinach and the tomato or not, but we shall see. It's going to be pretty, if nothing else. Okay, now I'm ready for my seasoning. I have in here currently just some salt and pepper, sea salt and pepper. You can do that according to taste. I'm going to put in a couple dashes of allspice. That's what that is. That's a nice, I guess you could say kind of licorice-y type flavor, clovey. Goes good with cinnamon and nutmeg. Speaking of nutmeg, I'm going to put a dash or two of nutmeg in there. Then I've got some cinnamon. I'm going to put a little more than the other two of that in there, because I like cinnamon. I'm going to put in a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil. I don't need too much, because I'm really just going to use a brush to smear it on my acorn squash. But what I'm going to do as a sweetener is I'm going to drizzle in probably a good 2 tablespoons of honey. I said syrup earlier, but then I realized I had honey. So I'm going to mix this together, and then I'm going to smear it on my acorn squash. You like that special effects? Watch this. Wow, that's pretty impressive. Okay, so I put about a teaspoon of each, or I put a teaspoon in each of the acorn cups, just a teaspoon. And then I take my brush and we're going to smear it. Make sure we get it around the sides, because I really need the color to come up around the sides. So I'm going to do this for all 4, and then we'll be back. Deanna, pay attention. Pay attention. Hey, don't fail this class. This is an easy class. It's not hard. This is real food fast. Real fast food. Real fast food. Food that's done quickly, and it's real, and it's fast, and it's food. All right, I'll be back. Okay, you see that? Isn't that purty? It's purty. I did all 4. Coat it with that cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, olive oil, and honey. I just used a little brush and put it all over it. I am going to turn my oven down to 400 instead of 450, because the sugar content from that honey, if it's too high, I don't want that to char and burn. I want it roasted nice, but I don't want the squash to get done before I get the browning that I want. All right, so this is going in the oven for 45 minutes to an hour, or until it gets until it gets tender. I'll keep an eye on it after about 35 minutes or so. All right, stay tuned. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to use this rice. This is the same rice they use for risotto. This is Arborio Rice. They're not as long as typical rice. And I think they have a better texture. I'm big on textures. Speaking of texture, you know what else we're going to put in this? I'm going to chop up some pistachios. Take them out the shell. Okay? All right, pumpkin? Mm-hmm. And so, thinking a spinach, shrimp, arborio rice with a pistachio topping. Or, oh wait, I had some Parmesan cheese too. I might do Parmesan and pistachio. We'll see. Depends on how it looks. I got 4 to play with, so maybe I'll switch it up. Anyway, here we go. Okay, the spinach and the tomato arborio rice is complete. I'm still waiting on the acorn squash. Ooh, steam. So that should be almost done, probably another 10 minutes or so. Meanwhile, I have my shrimp laid out, ready to season. I have a skillet preheating so that I can get a nice sear on these. And I'm not sure if I'm going to put these inside the rice or on top of the rice. Stay tuned. We'll find out. Okay, and there's the shrimp. I just seared those up. One a little darker, but I didn't let my pan get hot enough, but that's okay. So, and I put the acorn squash back in the oven for about another 10 minutes. So we're at probably about 55 minutes to an hour at 400 degrees. Okay, acorn squash is done. Spinach tomato rice, arborio rice is done. Shrimp is done. I crushed up some pistachios. So I'm gonna put some crumbs on top. And I'm gonna plate it for you. All I'm gonna do is take this right here, you see this? I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it in this. And then I'm gonna take this and put it on top of this. And then I'm gonna take this and put it on top of that. No. Then I'm gonna take, I'm gonna garnish it somehow because I want a little more color there. But this is basically it. Anybody can do this. Okay, acorn squash is done. Spinach tomato rice, arborio rice is done. Shrimp is done. I crushed up some pistachios. So I'm gonna put some crumbs on top. And I'm gonna plate it for you. All I'm gonna do is take this right here, you see this? I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna put it in this. And then I'm gonna take this and put it on top of this. And then I'm gonna take this and put it on top of that. No. Then I'm gonna take, I'm gonna garnish it somehow because I want a little more color there. But this is basically it. Anybody can do this. Okay, Deanna, hey, look over here, look. We got acorn squash, vegetarian acorn squash. You got acorn squash, spinach and tomato arborio rice, topped with red and yellow bell peppers and scallions, and cilantro. Tasty. You say you're not a vegetarian? Okay. Boop. This one, we have the acorn squash with the arborio rice, or the spinach tomato arborio rice, topped with grilled shrimp, red and yellow bell peppers, and cilantro. Still not enough for you, huh? Okay. Boop. Well, here's another one. Acorn squash, spinach and tomato arborio rice, topped with fresh grated Parmesan cheese with shrimp and a little yellow and red bell pepper for garnish. Still want to take it up a notch? Boop! This one is the Acorn Squash with the spinach, tomato, arborio rice, topped with pistachio and the green onions, red and yellow bell peppers, and cilantro. Bon appetit. Bon appetites. Get your fork. I don't know who's gonna eat all this, y'all. I don't know, but I just felt like cooking, and acorn squash is cheap. So, yeah, and I don't do leftovers, so sorry. Have a good night. Deanna, I told you it was easy. I told you it was easy. Bloop, bloop.